Hello! Today's stories come from r/entitled people. I've got 4 stories. First up, Karen harassed my deaf boyfriend. My significant other is deaf, and I have so many stories regarding Karens being ignorant and stirring up drama. I figured I might as well share 1 or 2 of them. My significant other and I were at our local shopping mall last spring. We were in line at the food court when a middle-aged woman, maybe 45 or 46 years old, tried to ask for directions to a certain store, and my significant other couldn't read her lips to know what she was saying because she was wearing a mask. Apparently, she hadn't noticed my significant other's hearing aids or the fact that we were communicating with each other in sign language because she thought he was ignoring her. And when I tell you she went ballistic, I mean it. "Hey, a-hole, I asked you a question, don't ignore me." Her shouting got the attention of a few people in the nearby vicinity. Significant other noticed some people were staring and signed to me asking what was going on. I explained the best I could what was going on, and he just sighed and asked me to act as an interpreter for him. "Are those gang signs?" "No, it's sign language. My significant other is deaf." "No, he's not. Don't lie to me. He's wearing hearing aids." "His hearing aids don't allow him to hear. They just help him to be a little more aware of what's going on around him," I explained. Karen noticed the people staring and started shouting obscenities at the small crowd that had gathered around us. My significant other took the opportunity to grab my hand and we slipped away. When we got a fair distance from the food court, we burst out laughing. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Karen clearly didn't realize that not all disabilities are the same. In my mind, this would be similar to trying to guess a visually impaired person's actual sight based simply on the fact that they have a cane or one of those personal aids with them, and then further suggesting they don't need it since they're obviously walking. Her next level ignorance is only highlighted when she reduces sign language to gang signs. Not to mention, random people at the mall are not standing around waiting to give her directions. That's what those handy large maps or customer service are for. And now for another dose of next level entitlement. Our story is, my brother wanted to propose to his girlfriend at my upcoming wedding. I said no, and all of this happened. I'm a 27-year-old male. I'll start this off by saying my wedding is scheduled for April because my fiancé, 25-year-old female, has always dreamed of a spring wedding. And I really like the idea too. I have an older brother though. He's a 30-year-old male. And last Saturday, I was called over to my parents' house to talk about something. But they refused to tell me what until I got there. They then sat me down with my brother and told me that my brother wants to use my wedding as the perfect day for him to propose to his girlfriend. I was instantly mad and told them absolutely not, but they ganged up on me. I ended up so enraged to the point that I, one man, somehow backed all 3 of them into a corner. I told them that if they want to do this, then not only will they all be uninvited, but I'll also cut off the financial support I've been giving monthly since they paid to have my golden child brother go through college by taking out a second mortgage. I landed a decently high-paying job and have been sending $500 to my parents monthly to help ease their mortgage. And I didn't ask for a stake in the ownership of their house either because I really don't want it. It was entirely goodwill. And I can cut it off anytime. I left without speaking anything more to them. But my brother came to my home the next day to yell at me that I ruined his big chance because now our parents are siding with me and say they'll evict him if he tries to propose at my wedding. He said I was financially blackmailing our parents and that he just wanted a good chance to propose because he was afraid his girlfriend might leave him soon. I said that was his problem, not mine, because my wedding day is not about him, and if he tries to propose at my wedding, I will have him thrown out. That's not a maybe, but a definite. And I doubt his girlfriend would appreciate her proposal followed up with being tossed out by a bouncer. He yelled a few choice words at me, then went crying to our only surviving grandparent, our maternal grandmother, and she called to try and ream me over the phone. No surprise, my brother heavily embellished the version of the story he told her, but she still sided with him after I gave her the real story. She tried to hold her ground, but the verbal backlash I ended up giving her left her crying. That got back to my parents, who were pissed at me for taking things so far. But I told them I only went that far because I had to when they were all trying to get me to let my brother use my wedding as his springboard for a proposal. They ended up agreeing with me, but still stated they feel like I'm crass. And my brother showed up at my home again to scream at me that I'm an a-hole and I hope I'm happy with myself for not allowing him the opportunity. My fiancée knows what my brother tried to do, and she's very angry about it. She's almost ready to have him uninvited if he pursues this any further. Normally, I have a very mild temper, but when it comes to certain people, like my brother, parents, and grandmother, I can easily get short with them because of all the past favoritism. My grandmother especially. She always sided with my brother and believed his lies no matter what he did. She's the biggest reason my parents favored my brother too. She kept trying to convince me over the phone to let my brother propose at my wedding that I ended up losing it on her. I ended up speaking with my brother again and threatened to tell his girlfriend if he was still intending to propose at my wedding without permission. He took it poorly and called me an awful person. So I pointed out that my wedding isn't about him. Our parents were there for this, and they backed me up. I think my brother did a double take when they did that. My dad pointed out that he'd raised my brother wrong, and that was on him. So from now on, my brother was to show them real respect. And they wanted to get an official lease drawn up for him to pay proper rent and utilities. He was only paying them $300 a month without contributing to any utilities or food. And if he doesn't want to pay, he can move out and they'll rent his room to someone else. My brother turned to our mom for help, but she just agreed with Dad. He looked like he was having a conniption and then left the house. He came back a couple hours later, but spoke to no one and locked himself in his room. 2 days later, my brother announced he was moving in with Grandma because she invited him. And our parents basically told him that if he wants to live with her, then to go ahead. My brother responded to this by saying we all hate him for just wanting to propose to his girlfriend. My parents pointed out that it's not that he wanted to propose, but where he wanted to do it. And he'd get no support for it. He's refusing to talk to our parents now. My grandmother did try to call me again, but it ended up with me telling her that my brother will not be allowed to propose at my wedding, plain and simple. So he can get over it or not come. And the same goes for her. I ended up calling her out on her favoritism towards my brother since we were kids, which she tried to deny at first, but couldn't keep doing so because of how much I'd pointed out. She ended up crying again while I told her that if she keeps trying to insist on this, then she won't be coming to my wedding. She begged me not to rescind her invite, but still said she doesn't understand why I couldn't let my brother have his way before ending the call. My fiancé is 100% on my side and is fully ready to remove my brother and grandmother from the wedding. My grandmother hasn't called again, and she's not talking to my parents either. My guess is my brother went crying to her again to tell her mommy and daddy weren't enabling him anymore. So she offered for him to move in with her. But there's literally nothing she can do to sway me, and I think my last conversation with her made her realize that. I didn't wish to tell my brother's girlfriend, but she called me up on a Saturday about my Reddit post. She saw it read in an online video and then realized it might be me with the way I describe my brother and grandmother. So yeah, now she knows. She ended up tearing my brother a new a-hole, and he still tried to justify himself to her. That's when she told him they were through and cut all contact with him. My brother, of course, blamed me, even though his girlfriend said that she's been ready to leave him for a while now, and if he tried to propose, no matter where, she'd have told him no. So that's it. My brother showed up at my place one more time to have a fit and said he is boycotting my wedding. He actually thought he had leverage that he and Grandma won't go. I said I wouldn't miss him and that he's in his 30s now and needs to grow up. Our parents have cut the umbilical cord and are no longer supporting him. And they're already repainting his room to rent it to someone else. And they plan on renting out my old bedroom as well because they need the money after the financial hole he left them in after dropping out of college. Just to mooch off them for a while and then get a degree with online college later. And then barely paying any rent while also making them pay for his food and utilities despite having a good paying job. They spent the world on him, and he wasn't the least bit grateful. That made my brother just shut down and leave. And since then, we've not heard a peep out of him. That's everything that's happened from my original post up till now. Edit. Yes, I have a very good security hired for the wedding, and they'll toss my brother out like bouncers in a heartbeat. Oh man, I really feel for OP. What a waste of energy this would be, trying to explain that his wedding day is about him and his partner, not his brother and his 1 foot out the door girlfriend. Can you imagine if she had said no at the wedding? Oh, the drama. It would have completely ruined the happy vibes of the day. It's unfortunate that OP and his fiancée had to go through this while also planning their wedding, which is so much work. But the silver lining is that it outed the brother and really put him in his place. It seems like the entire family is in a way better place. And now for another family story. My son is upset because he got banned using your account, and that's your fault. This happened just yesterday, and in part is a little vent. A friend of the family, who I always had to call aunt, is a woman who has a teenage son that I have always had to call cousin, that is on the autistic spectrum. She is usually nice, but is a total Karen when it comes to her son. She and her son came to our house to stay a couple of days because she was traveling to her vacations. She arrived some time before my friend came to pick me up for work, so I was giving them company. Her son is 16 and isn't dumb at all. He speaks almost 3 languages, but can be really childish, so I gave him my phone to play with. I was listening to her talk about how social networks are evil and only cause damage, that they're full of lies and predators, except for her Facebook, of course. When my friends arrived, so I just had to run and went on my merry way. I didn't realize that I didn't have my phone until several hours later. When I came back from work, she was angrily waiting for me, and I could hear her son crying in a room. My phone was on the table, and my family was looking at me weird. I couldn't think of anything for the behavior, so I asked. She handed me my phone, and my Facebook account was suspended. I was banned for a subreddit. I had several messages from my friends telling me that someone was using my accounts and got some angry messages on other social media platforms. This is what happened. Since her son wasn't allowed to have social networks and her mother didn't realize that he still had my phone, he browsed through all my phone's social network and communication apps, subscribed to several accounts related to his favorite movie and book, and then he started to argue with everyone about the books in different platforms. Then he went to Discord and got expelled. Then he went to Reddit and got banned from the sub. When his begs didn't work to lift the ban, he went to Facebook to complain in the fan page of the book and got me suspended for insulting the people that didn't agree with him. Then he tried to get help from other platforms and got some fans angry at me. When I arrived to home, his mom was angry at me because his son couldn't enjoy his book anymore for the bad time he got. Then she scolded me and contradicted herself because she was angry, telling me how bad social networks are, but also telling me how it was my fault her son got exposed to such a horrible time. I explained to her that he got me banned, not himself, and that he could just make his own accounts. But she didn't want that. She wanted him to get unbanned because that made him feel unwelcome, and he couldn't have his own accounts because social networks are evil. But he could use mine. My family was understanding, but since the kid was feeling bad, I just sighed and tried. Facebook was a lost cause. The Reddit mod thought I was lying and being childish. The Discord mod was understanding after a little talk, and the people on the other apps were a mixture of understanding and believing I was an a-hole. She still thinks it was all my fault and is angry at me even after I explained that I was the one harmed here. She thinks I didn't get unbanned from other social networks because I was being mean, and probably she is going to believe that for years, just like other situations similar to this one. Now, I just hope to not get another situation like this until they leave, and then the call from her husband apologizing again. I can understand her desire to protect her son, but I can't control the internet response. Where was the Karen mom in all of this? How shocking she isn't taking any responsibility for her son's behavior or her lack of parenting. Hopefully, OP settles things on all of her accounts, the ones that she actually cares about. Rest assured, she'll definitely keep closer tabs on her phone in future. My next story is a head-to-head. Reform Karen meets her match. I thought this might belong here. My mom has always been entitled. When I was a lot younger, she was also physically and emotionally abusive. However, when I was 11, I managed to get a really awesome teacher to convince her to go to therapy. She got a lot better after that and worked hard to repair our relationship. However, her Karen ways always stuck with her. Example 1. When I was 11 or 12, when she was still working through her issues, I had gotten a mediocre grade on a test, and to cheer her up before I admitted it to her, I bought her some snacks and the brand new issue of her favorite magazine. I threw away the receipt because magazines are not returnable anyways. Otherwise, people would buy, read, and return. At home, I found out that she had already bought that magazine earlier that day. She dragged me back to the store to return the €2 magazine. The employee obviously refused. It wasn't returnable, and I had no receipt. So my mom demanded the manager. And the moment the poor manager showed up, she began yelling something to the effect of, "You sold my daughter, a child, a magazine that she didn't need. Is this the type of establishment that you're running here, where you profit off of small children? That's illegal. I demand you to take back this magazine now." The manager didn't even know how to respond. I tried to calm the situation by telling my mom they didn't make me buy the magazine. I wanted to buy the magazine, and I really don't need the €2. My mom just interrupted me and continued berating the guy and even threatening to call the police until he took the magazine and refunded my €2. On the way home, she made me apologize for causing such drama, and she kept the €2. But at least she didn't care about the grade anymore. Example 2. When I was 15, we stayed in a €100 per night hotel in a big city, and she seemed to think that, like out in the country, €100 would get you a super luxurious suite. But €100 was their cheapest room. It turned out to be a small double-bed room with a couch bed, and decorated like grandma's living room in the 70s, including the mint green carpet in the entire room. So my mom went to the front desk and complained that the room was too ugly and was not like the more luxurious rooms from the photos, which advertised their best rooms. She demanded a free upgrade for their website, tricking us. She was so persistent that we actually got it. Now she has gotten a lot better. She finished therapy, we've spoken a lot about the past, and she's apologized sincerely. I'm 25 now, and since I've moved out, we have a pretty good relationship. She's not nearly as entitled as 10 years ago, but she does still have some, mostly legitimate, pet peeves when it comes to service. One of her biggest, even pre-pandemic, being servers touching the top rims of glasses. A few weeks ago, we were at a restaurant and the server did exactly that. Most servers usually apologize for their mistake and bring a new glass. So my mom politely mentioned his mistake and asked for new glasses. Following, a bridge conversation ensues. Entitled server: "I promise my hands are clean." Mom, politely peeved: "We are in the middle of a pandemic. It is extremely unhygienic to touch glasses at the top, even if your hands are clean." This is the way I learned it, and I won't let a guest with no experience in the restaurant business tell me how to do my job. Mom, formerly in charge of training hotel staff, including restaurant servers, now with a classic Karen attitude. "Well, you are clearly completely incompetent at your job. This is one of the first things any competent server learns. I want to speak to your manager." I am the manager, and if Madam has a problem with the way I serve, she may leave. "I will not leave until you correct your mistake and apologize." "I will do neither. This is my restaurant, this is the way I serve, and you need to pay for those drinks and leave." My brother and me had already finished our drinks. We had straws. At this point, we figured it best to leave, as his hygiene practices, especially in the kitchen, were probably not going to be any better. "We will certainly not be paying for the drinks. Your service was terrible." "You ordered these drinks, and your children finished theirs. If you do not pay, I will be calling the police." "We will not be paying. We are going to leave. You will not call the police, and if Sir has a problem with that, I will be calling health inspection." He let us leave at that. This week, we found out why. My mom called health inspection anyway, and the restaurant is currently shut down for presumably serious hygiene problems. I can't wait till the official report comes out. It is possible for Karens to use their power for good. I'm with OP here. I'd be super curious to see the report as well. I wonder if Karen really is reformed though, or if OP is just a few degrees removed since moving out, and isn't as close to the action. That, or her mom really is reformed and has the ability to tap into her entitled superpower on command. Either way, touching the tops of glasses is gross. If the place got shut down, can you imagine how disgusting what you were eating there must have been? It's not like standards are super high in the restaurant industry. Sounds like Karen helped her family dodge a bowel bullet here by bailing right away after the drink fiasco. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.